of view of U.S. elites, he's giving them everything they want. Trump's role is to ensure that the media and its public attention are always concentrated on him. So every time you turn on a television set, Trump. Open the front page of the newspaper, Trump. And in order to maintain public attention, you have to do something crazy. So every day there's one insane thing after another. And while this show is going on in public, in the background, the wrecking crew is working. What they're doing is systematically dismantling every aspect of government that works for the benefit of the population, from workers' rights to pollution of the environment, rules for protecting consumers. I mean, anything you can think of is being dismantled. And all efforts are being devoted, kind of almost with fanaticism, to enrich and empower their actual constituency, which is super wealth and corporate power, who are delighted.
Sous aucun prétexte, je ne veux avoir de réflexe malheureux. Il faut que tu m'expliques un peu mieux comment te dire adieu.
The worst policies that he's carrying out, the most dangerous, are barely discussed. Those are the two existential threats that we face. And it's not a joke. It's global warming and nuclear war. Those are the major issues. And Trump's actions are making both of them much more dangerous. In the case of nuclear war, the policies are significantly increasing the threat of nuclear war. In the case of global warming, it's almost indescribable. Not only has the U.S. pulled out uniquely, alone in the world, the Trump administration is going out of its way to increase the threat. And it's not just Trump. They know perfectly well that humans are causing global warming. He hasn't built a wall in Mexico yet, but he's building walls around his golf courses to make sure that the sea level doesn't destroy them. Rex Tillerson, the CEO of ExxonMobil, since the 1970s, they've been producing severe warnings to the leadership about the effect of the use of petroleum on destroying the environment. So they all know about it, but they're not doing anything about it, which is a level of criminality that it's almost hard to find words to describe. I mean, here are, educated, well-off, rich people, upper elite, who know that what they're doing is destroying the prospects for organized human life, and do it anyway because they make more profit tomorrow. Can you think of an analog for that in human history?
GDP is slowing all over the world, everywhere. And the reason is productivity has been declining for 20 years all over the world. The result, unemployment's very high everywhere. And nowhere is it more pronounced than among the millennial generation coming into the workforce. Our economists tell us that we can look forward to slow productivity and slow growth for the next 20 years. That 40% of the human race are making $2 a day or less, and arguably they are worse off than their ancestors were before the industrial experiment. Today, the 62 wealthiest human beings in the world, we could put them in this little section of the room. Their combined wealth equals the accumulated wealth of 1/2 the human population living on Earth. 3.5 billion people. There's something really dysfunctional about the way the human family is organizing its economic relationships on this Earth. But now this industrial era has given rise to a much more profound crisis, an environmental crisis. We are in real-time climate change. This is no longer a theory. This is no longer looming on the horizon. This is no longer imminent. Climate change is now at the house, in the door. Climate change changes the water cycles of the Earth. Everyone agree that the temperature goes up on this planet. The atmosphere is actually sucking up 7% more precipitation from the ground. The heat is forcing the precipitation into the clouds, so we're getting more concentrated precipitation, more violent water events, but they're more infrequent, throwing the entire water cycle of the Earth off kilter. More blockbuster winter snows, more dramatic spring floods. They said this flood only will occur once every 1,000 years. It's the new normal. More prolonged summer droughts and wildfire. We have Category 3, 4, and 5 hurricanes now, so dramatic that they're destroying infrastructure and killing people all over the world. That hurricane that hit the Philippines, this was the most powerful hurricane ever recorded. This is the new normal. Climate change is dramatically changing the water cycles. They're on an exponential curve. This is absolutely frightening. It's terrifying. And if you are a young millennial about to start a family, if you're a parent here or a grandparent, our scientists now tell us that we are in the 6th extinction event of life on Earth. It doesn't even make the headlines. This is the most dramatic story the human family has ever faced. There have been 5 mass extinction events on Earth in 450 million years, and each time the chemistry of the planet shifts very quickly. There's what we call a turning point and massive die-out. And after the massive die-out of life, it takes upwards of 10 million years to get new life back on Earth. Our scientists now tell us we are in the 6th extinction event. This is not a model, we're chronicling it in real time. And what they're saying is that over the next 7 decades, and many of you will be around for a lot of that, and your children will. In the next 7 decades, we could lose over half the species of life that now inhabit this little oasis in the universe. As my wife says, we just are not grasping the enormity of this moment. We might acknowledge climate change, but we're going on as business as usual with a little greenwashing. 99.5% of all the species that have ever been on this planet have come and gone. Those are not good odds. Anatomically modern humans have only been here about 200,000 years. There's no guarantee we're going to make this. I always wonder, what will future generations think of us maybe in 100,000 years from now? And they'll say, oh yes, we remember them. There was the Bronze Age, the Iron Age. These were the fossil fuel people. They dug up the burial grounds of the Carboniferous era and created a short-lived, dramatic, and very dangerous civilization. It's all about fossil fuels. Our fertilizers and pesticides are made out of fossil fuels. Our construction materials are made out of fossil fuels. Most of our pharmaceutical products are made out of fossil fuels. Our synthetic fiber, our power, our transport, our heat, it's all made out of, moved by fossil fuels. So when the price of oil goes over around 95 a barrel, all the other prices go up. When we get into the zone of around 115 a barrel, prices become so high that purchasing power slows. This is the sunset of a great industrial era. This is a convulsion of growth, shutdown, growth, shutdown. And the only reason oil went down in the last few years to 30 a barrel is now the fossil fuel industry is fighting among themselves. So this is a volatile, convulsive sunset over the next 40 to 50 years, an unstable world. So what do? We need a new economic vision for the world. It has to be compelling. We need a game plan to deploy that vision, and it needs to be quick. It needs to move as quickly in the developing countries as in the industrialized nations. If we have any chance of arresting the worst of this climate change, we're going to have to be off carbon in 4 decades, everywhere. This is beyond anything we're talking about at global conferences. How do we begin to tackle something of this magnitude? We need to step back and reflect on how the great economic paradigm shifts in history occurred. There have been at least 7 major economic paradigm shifts in history. They share a common denominator, and that is, at a certain moment in time, 3 technologies emerge and converge to create what we call in engineering a general purpose technology platform, a new infrastructure that fundamentally changes the way we manage, power, and move economic life. What are those 3 technologies? First, new communication technologies to allow us to more efficiently manage our economic activity. Second, new sources of energy to allow us to more efficiently power our economic activity. And third, new modes of mobility, transportation, logistics, to allow us to more efficiently move the economic activity. So when communication revolutions join with new energy regimes and new modes of transportation, it does change the way we manage, power, and move economic life. It changes temporal spatial orientation. It changes our habitats. It allows us to integrate in larger units. It actually even changes consciousness. The communication internet is now matured. It's been 25 years since the World Wide Web. We have digitalized communication. Now this communication internet is converging with a nascent, digitalized, renewable energy internet. And now both those internets are converging with a fledgling, automated, GPS, and very soon driverless road, rail, water, and air transport internet to create 3 internets: communication internet, renewable energy internet, automated transportation logistic internet, one super internet to manage, power, and move economic life. These 3 internets ride on top of a platform called the Internet of Things. We're embedding sensors in all of our devices, as you know, so they can monitor real-time activity and then talk to other machines and talk to us. A distributed nervous system that's going to allow everyone on this planet at very low cost to begin directly engaging each other on a global Internet of Things and bypassing a lot of the vertical integrated organization and middlemen that kept us away from each other. We can have direct engagement now. This is the revolution. This evens the playing field. We have millions of people now producing their own renewable energy right now at near zero marginal cost, free. 32% of all of the electricity powering Germany now is solar and wind, right now, in 10 years. And this is a northern country, doesn't have a lot of sun. We're going to be 35% of the electricity solar and wind by 2020. We're going to be 100% renewable energy by 2040. Absolutely. Solar and wind are on an exponential curve, just like computers. And the fixed costs are going to be as cheap as your cell phones. Everyone's going to produce their own green electricity. These exponential curves are not going away. You know how much a solar watt used to cost? $78 to generate 1 watt solar in 1978. You know how much it costs to generate a solar watt today? Not $78, 50 cents. It's going to be 35 cents in 18 months from now. And this is what you're not told here in the United States by the energy companies. We have power and utility companies buying long-term 20-year contracts for solar and wind electricity in Europe and America quietly right now for 4 cents a kilowatt hour. And the Berkeley National Labs, government labs, just announced they're generating wind and solar at between 2.8 and 3.5 cents a kilowatt hour. It's over, actually, for fossil fuel and nuclear. The marginal cost of producing the energy in Germany today is 0. The sun has not sent us a bill in Germany. The wind hasn't invoiced us. The geothermal heat has not come to us with a bill. It's free. How does any second industrial revolution country compete with that? And it's not big Germany only. Little Denmark's done this. Anybody can do this. Who's producing all the new energy? In Germany, there are forming these giant global vertically integrated companies, and frankly, we thought they were invincible. What's happened to them in 10 years is what happened to the music industry, television, newspapers, magazine, and book publishing. It's not just Europe, now China. When President Xi came into power with Premier Li instructed the central government of China to begin looking at these themes that I'm laying out to you to move China to a third industrial revolution, to show you how fast they move. The chairman of the State Grid, which is the largest electricity grid in the world, announced an $82 billion four-year commitment to digitalize the Chinese grid so that millions of Chinese people could produce their own solar and wind in their local communities and share it back on an energy internet. That started this year. Yeah. Watch Europe, watch China. The coming together of the communication internet with the renewable energy internet gives rise to the automated GPS driverless transportation logistics internet. We've got 1 billion cars, buses, and trucks choking us in traffic around the world. They're the third major cause of global warming, and we're going to eliminate probably 80% of the vehicles in the world in the next 2 generations because the millennials, your children and grandchildren, are never going to own cars again. This I know. And the remaining 200 million vehicles, they're going to be electric. They're going to be fuel cell driven. They're going to be operated by near zero marginal cost renewable energy. This is already happening. Where's the US here? The coming together of this revolution will involve every industry: telecom, cable, ICT, consumer electronics, transport, logistics, construction, and real estate, all the retrofitting. All the industries are involved. And it means work. We have one last surge of massive employment involving semi-skilled, unskilled, professional, and conceptual labor. We have to build out this smart infrastructure. Robots aren't going to do this. We have to take the entire energy complex of the United States. Think of all the infrastructure and all the technology, all those stranded assets. We have to convert all of that infrastructure from fossil fuel nuclear to distributed renewable energy. We have to retrofit every building in the United States. That's what we're going to do in Europe. Now we have a new platform. The Internet of Things platform is of a different nature than the platforms in the first and second industrial revolution. The new platform is really radical, because this third industrial revolution platform is designed to be distributed, not centralized. It works best when it's collaborative and open and transparent rather than closed and proprietary. And the benefits come when more and more people join the network, and each of us contributes our talents, which benefits the network and then benefits us. It's designed to be laterally scaled, not vertically integrated. And this is what moves us from the 1% and the 99% to a vast, vast expansion of social entrepreneurialism in global networks. That's the upside. On the other hand, how do we deal with network neutrality? How do we ensure that everyone has equal access to this new Internet of Things platform, this third industrial revolution? How do we make sure governments don't purloin this platform for political purposes, already beginning? How do we make sure that giant monopoly companies, some of them on the internet, don't use that data for their own commercial purposes at our expense? How do we ensure privacy when everyone's connected? How do we ensure data security when everyone's connected? How do we prevent cybercrime and cyber terrorism that could disrupt the system and take it down when everyone's connected? This is the dark net. And what I'm saying to you today is that the dark net is as impressive as the opportunity of the bright net. And I would say that the next 3 generations, beginning with you and your children and grandchildren, you're going to be heavily engaged in a new political movement. And that movement's going to be to ensure against the dark net prevailing and making sure that we all have equal access so the human family can engage in a distributed nervous system and begin to have a vast expansion of social entrepreneurialism. This is the political struggle that starts with the millennials, your children and grandchildren. This is an uphill battle. This is not a cakewalk. I'm not a technological determinist, and I'm not a utopian. Technology just enables, and then the question is, how will that journey end?